Welcome, Joe. Thanks for having us here, and I really appreciate it. I know it's a little bit odd. You're looking at the camera and at me at the same time, but you've been on before,
I have.
and nobody really knew who you were at the time. I think I had you sitting on a couch or sitting somewhere. We were sitting chair back to chair back, but
We shot my shoulder.
we shot your shoulder in my face the whole time.
Correct.
Tell everybody about yourself. You know, I know you can't go into the hours, but go into the kind of the version that you've been working on and tell everybody who you are and what's going on.
Well, I'm a recovering porn addict. That's one of the things I want to definitely get out there, that porn is a drug. There's lots of things that go with porn. There's lots of things that go with life. And I love what you're doing about the depression and the suicide. And someone that's attempted suicide, it hits home for me. Because I haven't necessarily ever had people that reached out to me when I was in those dark days. I've got some people now. And I've had some dark days definitely in the last 3+ years.
So has it been those people that have reached out? Did they reach out to you or did you reach out to them? Sometimes it's a combination of both.
It's both. I've reached out to a few people when I've started really going down, and I've had others reach out to me.
And then you watch BEAUD do goofy stuff every day.
No, it's not goofy though. That's the thing.
It's just a matter of bringing the awareness. That's it.
And I think that's why I'm willing to do this.
Right.
We hid me last time.
Right, and it was pornography, adult pornography.
Correct.
Okay. Which there are billions of people that are involved in pornography, but it got to the point where
it put me in jail.
Right.
There's no way around it. I'm not proud of that. I'm actually quite ashamed. But that night was my worst night of my life and the greatest night of my life. Because it started to bring me some freedom. And over the last while during my journey, I've really started looking at my life and asking how I got there. I relate the porn to like a drug or alcohol addict. What got you there? For me, I've struggled with gender dysphoria my entire life. My earliest memories were thinking I was a girl. But where I was raised and what I was taught was you didn't think that way and it was a no-no.
Right, and that's something we didn't talk about last time.
No.
Well, we're talking about it this time.
I was still trying to figure it out.
Right.
My first suicide attempt was when I was 10.
10.
I slit my wrist. My mom found me shortly after and wanted to just hide it and cover it up. I encourage any parent, if your kid attempts or talks about it, get help.
There's something wrong.
Don't try and sweep it under. Don't try and ignore it. Get help. Find out and be accepting.
Right.
Let them be them.
Right.
I've attempted suicide several other times in my life just because I was dying inside. I portrayed happy outside. I was married for 20+ years. I portrayed I was happy, all the while inside I was dying. For anyone that's watching, that's dealing with depression, gender dysphoria, addiction, suicidal thoughts, people care. Reach out. I know I've reached out to you, Bo. I've had some hard days, and I've reached out to you, and you're willing to just meet and talk. Doesn't matter. And I encourage people to do that.
It takes a lot of courage. They say it takes a lot of courage, but I think you're at a point in your life where it does take courage because you're not an old man, an older man, and in this gender, woman as well, in this gender challenge, and it's courageous to come out and really feel and really say how you feel and act like you are and things like that. Is there act meaning be who you are? what do you see your progression as being from here on out?
You know, I'm still figuring that out fully. I've started hormone replacement therapy about 5 months ago. And finally, in the first time in my life, within about the last month, I finally truly feel whole. I came out to my kids a couple of months ago, kind of gave them time to process, digest. We've had some good conversations. And I finally went public this week on Facebook, and I've got people upset at me because I didn't pull them aside and talk to them. And you know, that's okay.
Those are people that think that you owe them something, and that's unfortunate.
It's people that have already told me flat out they won't respect me, they won't accept it. And I knew that, and that's one of the reasons I didn't go to them. I knew that you would at least give me some respect. I didn't know what your actual thoughts were when I emailed you the story of my life that I've been writing out.
Right.
But I can't stress how much I admire the videos that you do with the people, and you know, the amazing people that you have done.
Regular people, just like you.
It blows my mind. You know, you never know someone's backstory. You never know their life story. You don't know what's going on inside of them unless you ask. And I think that's the biggest thing, is ask.
Well, and you know what's interesting, and it's interesting about you, just reflectively as we're in this little interview, and like I said, we'll do it again.
I hope so.
And again and again. I think that everyone I know and I talk to, they don't act as though they're a victim. They never act as though they're a victim. They do, and they pull themselves out of whatever they're in, whatever challenges or multiple challenges, and they face it head on. And the inspiration could be your inspiration doesn't necessarily have to be someone that has gender issues.
No.
It could be suicidal issues. It could be financial issues.
Addiction.
It could be addiction issues,
Absolutely.
whatever it is. And I think that's the benefit of people being real. I mean, and that's the opportunity.
For me, unfortunately, I've dealt with way too many. I am so thankful I'm still here, and it really pushes me, one, to become whole and be me. Two, I really want to help people. I have a heart for people. I don't want anyone to go through what I've gone through. I don't want anyone to hurt their spouse or their loved ones the way I have. I'm no victim. No one made the choices for me. I made them. I'm the one that's responsible for my actions. And you've got to be that way. The victims are my kids,
right.
my ex-wife, my family. Those are the victims, not me.
However, they're still here, and they're still part of your life,
They are.
hopefully.
Yes.
And so with family, I'm sure it was a little bit of a shock, but as time goes on, I'm sure they'll understand.
For some were, some were not. My sister was like, I'm not surprised. She remembers back to when I was young, and so she kind of had always wondered. But when I grew up, you didn't talk about it. I mean, I think you can relate to things. Things have come a long ways. You didn't talk about LGBT at all.
Right.
It just wasn't. I grew up in Montana. That was not something you ever discussed. Period.
Where men were men and
sheep were scared.
Sheep were scared. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, I grew up hearing it my entire life. It's a true saying.
Right.
But you know, we've got to change that. We've got to change the talk.
How is your life? How about work-wise? How is your life changing, or has changed, or anything like that?
I was laid off back in May. I am still searching for a job. Employers don't look past the title I carry, my conviction.
Right.
They won't look at me. They won't ask me, what is this about? You know, unfortunately, with the label I carry, people look at that and you know, a murderer gets better treatment than what I get.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not an exaggeration.
Well, maybe someone through a series of these videos, maybe someone will reach out to you as well. I know you're probably always looking, and
I'm always
just
looking.
because you've had your issues and made mistakes and things like that doesn't mean you can't, you know, provide for yourself and your family.
I never stop.
Yeah.
You know, I've worked my entire life until this. The longest I'd gone before not working was a little over a month when I was in jail. And literally within 2 days of getting home, I had a job.
How about dreams and aspirations? I mean, I know you're right. You're kind of in the moment, but you know what would you like to see happen? You know, in your life in the next, you know, foreseeable
Something
future.
I've held on to is I really want to speak. I want to share my story with people.
Mm-hmm.
I want to help people. I love helping people. That's one reason I've always done customer service.
Right.
I love working with people. I love people. Even when I hated myself, I loved helping people.
When you see yourself talking to who do you think you can relate to? Who do you relate to? And that's a loaded question.
You know, I always tell people I can walk into any situation and pretty easily match up or relate.
Right.
With my life experiences, I mean, I tried to be the extreme guy. I was a firefighter, EMT for a little while. I did the military, you know, played baseball. I've done everything. I have no problem walking into an executive boardroom with guys in suits and ties. And sorry, the phone's going off.
Oh, that's fine. That's real TV.
And talking to them just like they're everyday people.
Yeah.
And I have no problem walking down and talking with the homeless and treating them with respect and not necessarily fully knowing where they're at, but having a good idea and usually being able to find common ground. I think that's a key, is you gotta find common ground. Some people would look at my life and my story and say, there's no way all that's true. But it is.
Sounds familiar.
It's very true.
Right, right.
You know, from having my dad die in my arms when I was 8 to one of my closest friends shooting himself literally as I walk out of the room. Taking my mom off life support. My porn addiction, my suicide attempts, hating myself. I mean, hating myself for most of my life. I can find common ground with most people.
Let's hypothetically, as a kind of a finish up. You're in front of someone that, and you may have done this before. You're in front of someone that's reaching out, that really has some issues, that probably wants to kill themselves. What do you, and I know every situation is different, but what are some of the core things that you're able to connect with when that happens? I think I need people to hear, you know, maybe someone that reached out to you or you reached out to. How would you, I guess my question is, by thinking about someone that may have reached out to you, what do you say to someone that might be in a real dark place right now?
I'm here. I've got zero judgment. Let's talk. You know, I get where you're at. I've been there. You know, as someone that's been there, I know if I tell you I care, it really doesn't matter.
Right.
Because you don't believe anyone cares, but I do, and I can prove it. You know, let me help you. And I think that's one of the best things you can do, is just be non-judgmental, but be real. Because someone that's suicidal, you know, they're there for a reason. They don't believe people care about them. If they do, it's probably a very few select that they think might care about them.
Right.
Trying to come at someone and Oh, I love you, I love you. Do you realize how much it would hurt me? Doesn't do any good. Right? At least my experience.
Well, I think a lot of people think, there's a lot of people that have those feelings of, well, that person is very selfish if they're reaching out their dark, they're thinking about doing something themselves. And really, selfishness doesn't really have anything
No,
to do with it.
it doesn't even come into play.
It doesn't. And, there's been, a lot of published books and a lot of therapists, a lot of people will tell you that that's not what they're thinking. I call it in my own little world, I call it a suicidal panic.
I wanted to escape from pain.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to escape from dying inside. I couldn't handle being me. Had nothing to do with anyone else.
Right.
And yeah, I've heard it that suicide's selfish, and they don't think about those that are left behind and the effects. You're right. You don't. When you're to that point where you're trying to take your life, it is purely because of you. It's because of bullying. It's because of depression. It's because of self-hatred. The list goes on. Addiction, because you can't stand where you're at anymore and you don't see a way out. And that's where I want to just talk to people and let them know there is a way. There's always a way. It may not look like it.
Right.
When I was sitting in jail, it did not look like it at all. I would have never guessed I would be here.
Joe, thank you. I know that when I tape more than about 15 or 16 minutes, we tend to lose folks. So I'll be back, or we'll meet again and chat again. Is there anything just in closing you want to say, other than, I know you have your Facebook post is your Facebook, you have, what's your social media tags and stuff like that? So if somebody wants to get a hold of you, how can they get a hold of you?
One of my main hashtags I use is Jaws Ride for Life. I've learned that I am on a ride of life,
mm-hmm.
and trying to figure it out. I don't have all the answers.
Okay.
I do keep my social media fairly private,
right?
But I am more than willing to talk with people, can connect to me through you.
Okay.
I think that's probably the best way.
Sure.
Is
that's great.
Please connect to me through Beau. He has all my information. He knows how to get a hold of me. I'd love to connect with more people. I'd love to get out there more.
Well, and I've known you for a long time. I know you want to help people. I know. I wouldn't have you. I wouldn't have you on. I wouldn't. And I think a lot of people that might be watching, this is a good person. This is a good human being you're looking at right here. And I think he's very sincere. I know he's very sincere about helping people. So if you have similar situations and you want to connect, just let me know. Joe, thanks a lot for having me come out, and we'll do it again.
Thank you.
Okay. Good luck to you, and keep up the battle. Keep up the fight.
I'm gonna keep on going.
Gladiators look like everybody. We're all gladiators, and you're one of them. So thanks for your time, and I appreciate it. And we'll see you next time on The Daily Bend. And remember, it's all about the bend.